Well, as you can see, I've got a good mess going here in the kitchen. It's a cold, bleak day outside, so I decided to do some potting. If you remember some time ago out in the greenhouse, I said that I had some seedlings from my Monarda. I should have known better, because really what it is just plants coming up from the roof. So as I started to divide it, I realized that I had something different. I've done this many so far, and then I've got some more to do. So I've got kind of a mixture. Will be just coming from the roots, and then I've got some that just have a little bit of root on them. This one, just a little bit of root, you can see, but I think it'll be fine. So what I'm planting them in, as you saw earlier, I have some perlite down here, and I have some potting soil. And I want some pretty good drainage so that these don't die from too much moisture or whatever. It's kind of cool in the house and in the greenhouse, so we have to be a little careful not to get them too wet, because wet, cold on the roots is not always a happy thing. I will put them on a seeding pad so that they will be comfortable. So what I'm doing is I just take one of these little things here, and I'll fill it with soil. And then I'm going to we'll start with this one, and I'll just hold it like this, and I fill in. And then as you tap it, that kind of helps the soil get around those little roots, and it's the little tiny roots that really feed the plant. So we'll see what that one does. I've got one here that I'm not too sure about, but I thought maybe we would try it. As you can see, it's got just a little tiny bit of root on there. So I don't really need another plant, but just for fun, let's go ahead and plant this one too. I need some more soil. I always like to give something a chance. My mother used to laugh at me because I would come behind her, and when she divided plants and the ones she decided not to put in the ground, I would come behind her and save. So this is one we're going to save. So we'll see what that little puppy will do there.
It'll be interesting to follow up here in a few weeks and see if it's putting any leaves out.
Now this is more Monarda than any individual really needs, but I like it because it's bee balm, and it does attract the pollinators. Plus it is edible, so we can use these for some microgreens if we choose. I don't know how Al will feel about the flavor of them. Now while I'm doing this is a productive house. Al is taking the hazelnuts from our tree and cracking them. Now, I've found the little ones kind of hard to do, but he's got a system, and he'll show you all about it.
That was an empty one. Let's see what else we can find. Here's one, another one of the small ones. What we ran into this year, and you can see in the opening there that Gretchen was running the camera on, is we had 3 different sizes of hickory nuts. And the big ones came off of a couple of our plants, and then we've got another plant that seems to produce all small ones, or we've got a watering problem. One of the two we're going to have to check into this coming year. But one of the things that I ran into is, if you look right here, this is a standard size hickory nut. This end right here, let me get my little pointer out. This end right here is the part that is in the husk and joins the plant itself. And this point on the other end is, of course, the opposite end. And I have found that the best way to crack these is to put pressure here and pressure here, and it about 90% of the time will crack the nut without breaking the nut inside. And that's just what we had right here. And there's one of the regular sized ones. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the size of this and the size of this don't work. The only way I can get it in is if I put it clear back here, and then I have no leverage. So I'm going to set that down. And what I ended up doing is going into my shop and getting a couple of sets of pliers. And there's the area right here in the pliers. It seems to work really well. This flat area, if I adjust the handles so that flat area fits the nut, I can get a pretty good crack on it. So I'll put that in there. Make sure the 2 points that I pointed out to you earlier are pointed right straight up into that area right there. And I usually cover it up with my hand because the shells will fly everywhere, but I'll just do it. Yep, got lucky this time. And what it does is it breaks it in such a way that the meat of the nut comes out almost always whole. Not always, but almost. And so what I do is I normally, though, that's a two, those are some of the small ones, and I set the smallest of all aside to use a smaller pair of pliers. And here we go right here. Now what I've found works best is to do that, and it doesn't get all over the floor as bad. Doesn't mean that it doesn't, but it doesn't. And whenever I find one that won't fit into the flat spot there, I set it aside to use the smaller pliers. Now here's one right here that looks pretty good. Once in a while you'll end up with one that doesn't have any meat inside. And there's one, and then we've got the complete nut all in one piece. And when you break them from top to bottom like I was showing you there, works pretty good for us. Thanks for joining me. I'm going back to work, and Gretchen's going out to check on her stuff in the sunroom.
Well, as you can see, we are starting to get a little bit of a second crop where we pruned those last week, so we'll cut those down again. In the meantime, I have started 4 more of our microgreens here. So we'll, I've got some beets, I've got radishes, of course, I've got cilantro, and then something else, I can't remember what it was. These are the things that I did earlier, and they're looking good. That's my monarda. And here's a little update on our ginger.
This is about twice as big as it was last week.
Yeah.
Well, it's really growing.
Then, but right here, last year I bought a tiny, tiny little Christmas cactus. So I've been kind of babying it all year, replanted it, and it's blooming. Yay. I'm very happy with that.
Well, we can take that in the house to decorate for Christmas.
And then the other decoration is over here. We've talked about this before. This is my poinsettia that I've been growing all year. And it's looking pretty darn good. Take a look at it here. And I think it's ready to go in for Christmas decorations.
Well, then let's take him in.
Okay, let's grab him here.
Well, that's it for this week, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. See you next time.